Hey guys, it's Lex Richey
and Courtney Noir,
and you are listening to another episode of The Pleasure's All Yours.
We are a podcast all about the sexual liberation of the Black and queer communities.
We really wanted to create a space for us to talk, laugh, kiki, and really emphasize how the pleasure is.
It's all yours.
Oh, what's up, Courtney?
Hi.
We're back.
Yes.
Take two.
Hey, Lex Richey.
What's up?
What you got going on? I mean, you know, we're back.
We're back.
We've already done this. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, if you haven't listened to us before, we do like to start every episode off with a pleasure moment, which is just something pleasurable that happened in the week. It doesn't have to be sexually related, just something that made you go, life is worth living. So, Courtney, what was your pleasure moment?
Wow. My pleasure moment this week was... Fuck. Did anybody watch Love Island?
I didn't.
Okay.
No. I love how you ask them like they can respond to you in real time.
Fuck. My pleasure moment was waking up this morning and making it to
the studio on time.
Yeah.
We were on time today.
Yeah, we were on time today. So
we're not usually off time, but
yeah, we were especially on time today. Let's say that. We were like especially on time. I feel like 15 minutes is like a grace period for everything in life, even though some people would disagree. That's like American Airlines, they would disagree.
That's the CP shit.
But like, I think if you make it within a 15-minute window before or after you're scheduled to be somewhere, you're on time.
Yeah.
That's just me.
See, that's so funny because like I noticed one thing about me, and I've noticed it more over the past few months, is like when people say that we're going to be doing something at a certain time, I'm expecting for us to do it at that exact time. So when it doesn't happen, it brings me a lot of frustration and like anxiety.
Yeah.
So like, for example, me and Red will be planning to go somewhere and she's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, we can get there by 2. And I'm like, okay, it's 1:50 and we haven't even like left the house, but I've been ready for like 20 minutes, you know? And like just the whole, well, it's fine, we'll get there late. That gives me so much anxiety because especially if you've told me beforehand that we're going to be somewhere at this time on this day, I've like already mentally prepared to be there at this time on this day. And I think that's just a neurodivergent thing, truly. But like it genuinely, like, it's not even that it makes me angry. I do get a little frustrated, but like it more so just gives me anxiety because it's like I just don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, this bitch is going to be late. Like, yeah.
Now, what about when you are late? Because
I'm beating myself up in my head when I'm late.
I mean, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm a chronically late person. I will be honest with you. I mean, like I woke up this morning at 7:30 and I had like to do my outline or whatever. And I like was like, okay, I just need to get up by like 9:30, get ready to leave by 10:30. I still ended up leaving my house at 10:39. I was on time. Like I was on time here to where I needed to be, but it was just like, how do you like plan hours ahead? And I'm still like, I just leave always like 10 minutes after I say I'm going to leave somewhere. It always ends up being 10 minutes later. But I will say like, I feel like we both have that issue.
Yeah.
Like usually like no matter what we're doing, like bitches are not on time.
Yeah.
So
it like, I guess it just kind of also depends on the occasion as well, like where we're going, what the event is. But like when I am running late, it still gives me anxiety.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
That's
Same.
usually how I end up forgetting things.
Yeah.
How I end up forgetting to plug my phone in and charge it because I'm like rushing to get somewhere, and I just realized I'm behind time. Like it either way, if it's me or if it's someone else, I always have a level of anxiety and a level of like feeling bad about myself for not getting somewhere on time.
How do you feel like we overcome that? Because we do live in Dallas and traffic is just like
unpredictable sometimes.
It's unpredictable. Like it could be Sunday afternoon and for some reason it just takes you 40 minutes to get somewhere, whatever.
Yeah.
How do we improve on that? Because like I have really tried. Like I'd be like, I'm going to get dressed and ready to go an hour before so that there's no issues. But literally something will happen. Like, I can't remember. Oh, for the photo shoot, I was beyond ready. I was ready to go. And then I get to my car and I'm like, fuck, I'm early, but I forgot my shoes. Let me go back in. Oh, okay, my shoes are here. Shit, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. Or fuck, I need to pack this. Or the issue with the martini glass is like, it's always, no matter how prepared I feel, I pack my bag the night before. It's always something. Even sometimes down to the amount of time it takes me to get from my apartment door to downstairs in my car, driving down the garage and on the street to where the 20 minutes actually starts that it takes me to get to my drive. Yeah. Like,
I try to like trick my brain and tell myself that the event starts 30 minutes before it does. Because most of the time that will help. Like, yeah, most of the time that will help is when I'm like, oh, I actually need to be here. Or even 15 minutes before, I'm like, oh, I need to be here at this time. Because, like, my doctor's appointments, they say get there at, like, 8:30. Right. I'm there at 8:15, like, in the lobby waiting. But, like I said, that's still, like, a different occasion. But, yeah, like, it can be, like, really frustrating. But I really try to tell myself that things start earlier than they do. So that way I start getting ready earlier. And then when I notice that I'm running out of time, I can start like rushing at that point. But
I'm the exact opposite because I will also tell myself that, like, okay, get to the studio today. Our thing starts at 11. Get to the studio by 10:45. But what happens is, like, at 10 o'clock when I'm about to leave, I will literally be like, well, I'm ready. I'm good. It really doesn't start till 11. And so let me just fill up my water bottle and take a hit of this bong and, finish this outline question and here instead about the thing. Yeah.
Sometimes also it just is like time. Like, I don't, like, my perception of time is not very good. Like, it's not like even when I was working the other day, and I've been doing overtime at my office, but I was working and I was just so in a groove, shout out to Adderall, that I like looked at the clock and it was like 7 o'clock. I was like, why am I still in the fucking office? It's like, why am I still in the fucking office? I left out of the office. There's one other person in the office. I'm like, when did everyone leave? Because I'm just so engrossed in what I'm doing that time isn't relevant anymore at that point. So, yeah, it just was.
Time blindness is so crazy. Because, like, how does 10 minutes, when I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, I have 20 minutes to get there. How does 10 minutes actually go by and all I did was pick out my earrings? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Anyway, what was your pleasure moment?
My pleasure moment was probably, like, the sleep that I got after, like, being outside for hours and hours. Didn't even realize it was 100 degrees until we got in the car and checked the weather. I was like, oh, shit. And we're outside in the hottest time. Why are we outside at between 1 and 3? 1 and 4, that's hot as fuck.
That's like that's the heat of the day. Yes, you will not see me.
Yes, so we were outside, and it would just, I definitely really enjoyed, like, I didn't enjoy how tired my body felt, but I enjoyed how easy it was for me to relax in my bed, like, after being outside. Like, you feel like a part of the mattress, and that was, like, that was definitely my pleasure moment.
I could never get up, and that would be okay.
Yeah, and I was just laying under my blanket. I turned the AC down. I took a cool shower. Got under my blanket, opened my township, and was just in there just playing my fucking game, bitch.
You got businesses.
Absolutely. I got a whole city. In Uganda. Exactly. 3,000 of them.
Yes.
Well, I don't have a fun fact today.
Okay, life isn't fun.
Yeah. I wish I did, but I never, like, think of what I want the fun fact to be about, and my indecisiveness does not help.
You know what? I've resigned to, like, just letting the fun facts come to me. Yeah. And, like, it's really helped. Like, if I see a fun article, if I see, like, sometimes my friends will send me stuff, and I'm like, perfect. I'll save that one. You know?
Sometimes I just forget because I have, like, things saved that people have sent me, but I just forget.
Pull one out the chamber sometimes.
Yeah. Well, since there is no fun fact, we're going to jump right into our pleasure principle for the day, which is something that I feel like we've talked about in a few episodes very briefly. And it's, like, also, I guess this would need a trigger warning, mostly because we are talking about self-injury, not in, like, a cutting kind of way or anything like that, but it does talk about where that stems from, and we will touch a little bit on, like, sexual violence. So if that is a topic that is kind of hard for you to stomach, then I would say we'll see you next week, babe.
That's okay.
And that is okay. Still like and subscribe and follow us and check out thepleasuresallyours.com. But our pleasure principle is going to be over self-injury in respect as using sex as a sex injury, which as a person who did that for at least a year or two, like I just felt like this was really important to touch on. And with some of the statistics from this article that I read, it is kind of common, especially for like younger people and people in their early 20s. Yeah. And, you know, just want to make sure we're all being safe and taking care of ourselves in whatever way that means. But I do want to also make it clear that it's going to sound like I'm saying because you're promiscuous, you are self-harming, and that is not what I'm saying. It is always having to do with mental health tied to this. So if you are just out here popping puss and that like brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah, we love sluts.
We love sluts here, okay? Look me in my eyes. We love sluts, okay? So don't worry about that. That's not what I'm meaning. But anyway, this is mostly talking about sex specifically to soothe any depression, self-loathing, and like emotional, physical trauma that you have, and replacing something like overeating or something like that. Any other thing that you would use to harm yourself and your body, you're just using sex instead. And not even just sex, you're using unsafe sex. And that is like the key differentiator here. But I know usually self-injury does like talk about cutting, hitting yourself, not eating, using drugs, things like that. And sex can be used in the same way. It is classified as a non-suicidal self-injury, but like, which they call it an SSI, and the sexual self-injury is called a SASI.
Okay. Sassy.
Right. But this can mostly look like having very large amounts of unsafe sex, not using condoms, meeting in really sketchy places, just kind of hooking up out in the open where you know that like anyone and anyone can stop and be like, yo, and not even in like a kink way. Having sex that's not satisfying to you at all, or you have no desire to have sex either, that can also be considered an SASI. Going into areas that are very dangerous for your person to find this person. So like me, a Black woman, going into like a very dark, very white space where I know like there will be white men around that can possibly put me in danger. And I know that, but I'm still bringing myself to do that. That would be in that category. Finding people on dating apps and meeting up immediately with no protection, no vetting, no anything. Like literally just being like, all right, yeah, let's come over. And inviting them into your space as well, like into your home, or you going over to their home, not knowing.
Pick you up.
Yes.
Not places.
Yes. Where you have no like actual escape of
control.
anywhere.
You have no control over your environment.
And your phone's dead and you're still going. Nobody has your location. You're still going. Or you're purposely turning off your location and going. Like those are all very unsafe things to do. And then putting yourself in situations that mimic a sexual violence encounter that you had. So yeah, just exactly what it is. Something that mimics whatever your essay was like would also be a form of using sex as self-harm. Whenever you, like, are these things that you think about whenever, like, if someone were to be like, oh, I'm, like, when you hear people telling you that they're doing these things, is that, like, the first thing that comes to your mind is to ask them if they're okay?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Now that I'm an adult, I don't think, like, when I was in my early 20s, or especially when I was in college, like, my first 2 years of school in Lubbock, Texas, that, no, I was probably one of those people. Like, I have, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, another way, like, these are just a few ways that you can recognize if you are using sex as a self-injury tactic. And the study that I was reading, it's from one of those websites that I get a lot of our information off of. Most people who do this have had encounters with some kind of sexual violence, and that is
anything under the umbrella of sexual violence. There are lots of things under there. You can also be using it as an emotional regulator. So how I'm a bitch to bust a nut when I'm sad or I'm stressed out or anything like that. That is my emotional regulator. That's just me. But then you go and put yourself in a situation for unsatisfying sex, violent sex, or using unsafe sex practices. That would be a key indicator. So having sex with no attraction to the person at all, that as well. Like, you're trying to get fucked and you know that this ugly ass person is gonna fuck you, so you're like, and it's not even like you're wanting to get fucked. You have that itch to like do something with the feelings that you're having.
I used to be very much like a "while I'm here" kind of bitch with like horrible people.
Yeah,
so
I have had like people tell me that like they would just say yes, like even if they didn't want to. Yeah. And not even because they felt like they had to, but it was just like, whatever. Like you were saying, it's like, oh, I'm here and you want to, like, whatever.
I think it was coming from like a self, the opposite of self-acceptance, like
self-loathing.
Yeah, like where I'm like, this person will fuck me, so I'm going to like let them fuck me.
And it like validated
you. Yeah, like it validated me that I could fuck.
Yeah.
Like that I could get somebody fuck, even though like they have no desire for me or like getting to know me. Yeah. Like didn't present any, you know, like it was just very much a like, oh, they matched with me on Tinder in Lubbock. These were definitely white men. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And that is another like sign of it, is using sex as self-validation, because you are more than a vessel to have an orgasm or to put your fingers or your dick or your mouth on. So like, you know, if someone wanting to fuck you makes you think, oh, I'm valuable, then you might want to sit and ask yourself a few questions, babe, because you're worth more than that. And causing injury to your own genitals via sex. I know that I had a friend who also had a friend that she met on FetLife, and she was telling me about all these things that she was getting into, and they all sounded so unsafe. Really? Like, they all sounded so unsafe.
What if you feel comfortable sharing?
So, like, one of them, you know, a Dom sub relationship can be very intimate, and she was a sub, and any Dom that was like willing to meet someone, she would go meet up with them. A Dom would be like, oh, me and my friends want to gangbang, and she'd be like, oh, cool, I'll go. Wow. And so it's just her. No one's going very with unsafe. Her. She's just going.
No vetting of
these people. Not asking for any testing of these people. She's just going and getting fucked by all these guys like in one night. And I remember her telling me that she would bring up to her like, hey, are you all right? Like, you know, you're putting yourself in a lot of unsafe situations. I just want to make sure you're okay. And I just remember her saying that they had a conversation where she could very much tell that she was not okay. And like, she was depressed about a lot of things that was going on in her life. And because that made her feel something other than sadness and depression and despair for her situation, that she would just go and do them, like letting people cane her, letting people like leave bruises and marks, and doing all these things that really like can make, and not offering any aftercare either. So that will also really put you in like a very dark place. And what was the other one? Like I said, recreating your own sexual trauma through your experiences, disassociating during sex as well. So it's like you're literally just letting someone use your body for whatever it is that they want, and you're not even there. Yeah. Like you're not even aware of what's going on. Yeah. You're just not there. And then using drugs or alcohol to encourage yourself to have sex when you otherwise don't want to. So this can look like getting super fucking hammered and just finding whoever, like there's a creepy guy talking to you at the bar because he knows you're drunk. You know that he knows you're drunk, and you can recognize that that's going on, and you being like, okay, yeah, whatever, like take me home, like it's fine. That would also be an unsafe situation. Or even popping pills to numb your senses when you are like going out on a date, or you have told someone that you can take them home, that they can take you home, or you invited someone over, anything like that. It's basically having sex that would bring you physical or mental harm. So yeah. Do you feel like any of those you've done?
Oh, 100%. Like I've always known that like the things that I did were like not I wasn't in the right space for that. I was like horribly depressed and like lonely my first few years of school because of where I was going. I was in fucking Lubbock.
Yeah.
And I was also like not physically, like I looked different. I was like, yeah. So I definitely think hearing these, I'm kind of like, wow. Yeah. Like I'm remembering certain situations that I put myself in and I'm like, wow. Like if my cousins told me that they were doing this, I would like lose my mind. Like I would drive up to Oklahoma in an instant. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I will say that for a good like 2 or 3 years, especially like after everything that happened with my family, I was very, very deep in this hole of like having extremely unsafe sex and very dissatisfying experiences because I was like so sad and in the dumps, and like getting attention in that way made me feel better because I had spent so much of my time with family who basically bullied me about everything had anything to do with myself, anything that I liked, down to the music I listened to, you know? So it's just one of those things where I was like, well, these people want me and these other people don't want me. Literally. So like, obviously I'm worth something because somebody wants me, but it's not like they want me. They want my body.
They want the fact that you're offering them, a place to house themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, going to school in Lubbock, I went to a lot of white parties at first. I really wasn't involved with the black like side of Texas Tech, like where I went to school, and obviously like that damaged me in a whole different way. But I was going to a lot of like white frat parties. I was the only black friend in the group. I'm a dark-skinned woman, and I was like probably 75 pounds heavier than I am now. And like, I kept being put in situations where like I would get physically like ignored, or like literally like I didn't exist. Like people would hit me, like spill drinks on me. Like my friends weren't like, oh, Court, let's go home. Oh, why don't we try one of the other black party? Like, why don't we, like, it was just always like, I went where they went. And so like, I was around these white men that really had no desire for me at all. And being 18 and, you know, you're starting college, you just like really want to be accepted. And so I would find these white men that were Lubbock locals on dating sites like Tinder. That was like my main one. And I would match with these white guys that would be interested in me because they liked me. And I would have them pick me up from my dorm or Uber to where they were, and like have these experiences that literally, like, they just like the ones at the party, like the frat party, I would be ignored or like wouldn't ask any questions about me. We were just like fucking, and then they would like literally send me on their way. Like it was nothing. And I didn't realize until later that I was just recreating the experiences that I had at these parties, just in a more intimate setting. And because they were putting their dick in me, I was like, oh, I'm worth something. Like, obviously I'm liked by somebody.
Yeah.
I just can't believe I was doing that with white men. Like I like to pretend I haven't had sex with white men, but I have had sex with like a handful of white people.
Yeah. And she liked to be on my ass.
I do, but it was different. You were in love with them.
Was I? That don't mean shit. Does that don't mean shit.
You loved them for at least that day. That one day that you said absolutely.
It wasn't even like they asked me. It was literally like, oh, we're doing all these things, maybe we should get married. And like,
you know, you said that.
We were like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. And then she showed me the ring that she ordered. And then as soon as it came in the mail, she just took it out and like put it on my hand. Like it wasn't like a romantic thing.
You guys didn't even go out on a date and like do any of that to like celebrate the fact that you got the ring?
No.
Okay. See, white people use you.
Oh man, it's in their genes, girl. Anyway, as previously stated, most people that do use sex as a self-injury have experienced some kind of sexual trauma. Not all of them, but a good majority of them. And there was a study done in, I think it was like 2019, with U.S. colleges that showed 12% of the like 129 participants that they had used sex as self-injury. But there was a study in Sweden, and they got with like a high school they got with a high school and they did a study there, and 75% of those participants reported using sexual gratification as like injury to themselves. But they had also experienced sexual violence in some way at that time. So there is also that.
That doesn't surprise me. Like, let's take out the sexual violence aspect of it. Like, let's say you were a victim of sexual violence. I think that's different than what I'm thinking of. But like, the age of using sex as self-harm being like, you know, your first few years of college, like you're an adult now, you're 17, 18 through like 24, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's now what you can control. Like when you're teenagers, you have a lot of people using food, like binge eating or bulimia or anorexia, because now you're at an age where your parents aren't feeding you. You're not 8, you're not 10, you're not having your meat. You can control everything you eat. So that's how they control their self-harm. But like, as we move into 18 to 24, you're realizing you have body autonomy, which means you could do whatever you want with your body, which means you can harm your body the same way that you're using food to harm your body and yourself.
Yeah. But the people in the study from Sweden, they did say that their self-injury included physical pain, using sex to relieve a past trauma experience, proving that they're worth something, or seeking getting validated that they were needed for something. So I think that, like, you know, people can relate to that. I know I can definitely relate to that.
Same.
Yeah, it is like it's a very like, and like the next section I have is like how to move forward and questions to ask yourself. And I will say that it's just like any other kind of self-injury where you have to really make yourself not do it. Like, it can become kind of addictive, like seeing, oh, how many people can I get to fuck me? How many people can I get to, like, it can get kind of addicting because it kind of makes you feel high. It's like, oh, no one can tell me anything. All these people want to fuck me, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. And like, cool. If all these people want to fuck you, cool. It just doesn't mean you have to fuck them. Yeah. But moving forward, before having sex with someone, or like before putting yourself into a situation where you like a sexual connection can be formed, you might want to ask yourself a few questions. And this would include, am I attracted to this person? When I see them, do I get horny? That is the feeling desire. Am I attracted and do I feel desire? If the answer is no, don't do it. What am I feeling and why am I seeking this out? So if I'm just feeling horny, obviously, like, whatever, but like, go a little deeper than that. Like,
where's the root?
Yes, go a little deeper than that. Am I sad? Have I been feeling down? Am I feeling triggered in any way? What is my like emotional state? Is more so the question to ask yourself when you're putting yourself in these situations. Will this be something fun, or am I going to feel pleased and satisfied at the end of this? Because I know a big thing about it is that I don't think it's recording. It's red.
Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm looking at the red light. But is it going to be fun? Are you also getting satisfied at the end of this experience, or are you just being used as something to satisfy another person? Are there other things I can do right now to regulate my emotions? Another great question to ask. If I would have just asked myself that question more often, bitch, I would not have just been throwing the cat at anyone. Like, taking a second to ask, what else can I do to regulate? And that can even look like painting, reading, going for a walk, going to the gym, even sleeping. Even using sleep as a regulator is usually better than putting yourself in these dangerous situations.
The only other regulator I had in school was eating.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that.
I mean, I did that.
Yeah.
So like they kind of just went hand in hand, like, because then the more I ate, like the worse I felt about myself, you know.
And
like,
so then you have to cure that with feeling desired.
A horrible cycle.
A very horrible cycle.
I really wish I had other coping mechanisms. I think being a young person, it takes a lot of effort to find them. Yeah. You know,
because you don't really always have the resources to like know what that looks like,
or the language to like explain how you're really feeling. Like we can say, let's tap into our feelings, but like, when you're 18,
you don't know 20, what feelings are.
You don't
just
really
know
you're
feeling them.
Yeah, and you know you're feeling them hard, bitch, and you want them to stop.
Yeah. So how do you fix that? You go fuck someone, even though, like, don't do that. Another question you can ask is, will this make me feel worse once it's over? So once you get home and you're in your bed, is the pain you feel in your genitals, is that something that is going to make you feel better? Is the whole encounter going to be something that makes you feel shame? Are you going to feel shameful after this? Are you going to hate yourself more because you let yourself get into this situation? Like, it's good to ask yourself these questions as you're going through these experiences, because if you're doing it to injure yourself and it's making you feel worse, you're just going to create a cycle of you continuously doing it because you feel fine during the encounter most of the time. And like, you know, and I think that it just makes you feel more in control because you can put yourself in these situations, especially in life when you feel like everything is out of your control, the economy, your life, rent, things like that. Like, this is something you can control, is who you and how much you have sex with someone. But like, will it make you feel worse? Something else you can do is remove temptation. So delete your dating apps. Delete them, bitch. Don't pause your accounts. Delete the account.
So that way, you know, if you decide to log back in, you got to
start all over.
New profile.
And that's a deterrent because, bitch, I don't want to do that.
Seriously.
So delete the entire account. Don't pause it. Delete any contacts or numbers of reliable sources that you have used to self-injure yourself this way. So like, if you have someone that you know that nigga don't give a fuck about you, that nigga gonna treat you like shit, or whoever is going to treat you like shit after the encounter, or like even during the encounter, delete the contact. Block the contact, delete the contact. So that way there's no real way for you to continue that relationship. Do your best to be in non-sexual situations or spaces. So like the strip club, probably not a place you should be.
Those trigger points.
Triggers. Avoid triggers is basically what I'm saying when it comes to that. If you do have friends that like to go and pop puss and things like that, and you know that is what they're going to be focused on, they're going to be talking about dick, they're going to be talking about pussy, they're going to be talking about whatever when you're out, maybe avoid going out to those spaces with those people. So there is that. And then, like I was saying earlier, find different ways to regulate yourself. Reading, painting, walking, going to the gym, sleep, that. And, you know, we always emphasize building a very good community. And this is one of those times that community would very much be a fabulous regulator. If you are feeling low and like you're not worth anything other than the body that you can give to people, or other than like the experiences that you've had, it would be good to connect with the people that are around you so they can pour into you when you don't have anything in your cup anyway. That's the whole point of community. And I think that with all of this, like I was saying in the last episode, all of this like therapy talk on like how you should be self-sufficient and your emotions are your own and things like that, those things are true. But at the same time, we are human beings, and like we can't survive on having no contact with anyone at all and still be a functioning member of society. So, you know, use your friends, lean on your friends, even if they're just coming over to watch TV with you or coming over while you sleep. Like, just having someone there to, and this is also why it's so important to show up for people when you say that you're going to, and when that is the relationship that you have built. Because in moments like this, I did not feel like I had community to lean on to be like, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling this. Like,
absolutely.
And the community that I did have were people that I was using to self-injure myself in this way. So, you know, it's just making sure you have that. Do you feel like that you had that whenever you were in college?
No, I feel like the community I had was encouraging me to continue to go out and do these harmful acts. Like, because when I would come home and I would tell them about it, they would be like, oh my God, like, you did that? I can't believe, what does he look like? And then when I would show them, they'd be like, you know, like disgusted, but they would encourage me to go do things like that again because I was the hoe with the stories. Like, I always was popping puss at something, or I'm always talking about sex. So like, it was entertaining for them. I realized like they're just not the people I should have been around, but they were. And these were the experiences that came as a result of that, of me not having the right community behind me.
Yeah. And I think that like, if your friend is popping puss, you know, encourage them, but also check in on them. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was popping puss with people. If I showed you pictures, you'd be like, okay, let's have a talk.
Let's unpack this real quick.
Like, really.
Yeah.
But they like just weren't people that cared. And you know, they have like, when you're young, like they also really didn't have the language or like the knowledge to have those conversations. But like therapy talk it has these like negative connotations, but I'm glad that at least like the framework of what that means is now like a conversation that so that 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 17-year-olds can talk to their friends, and they at least can get on TikTok and like figure it out. Like I feel like we didn't really have that.
Yeah, no, bitch. I just knew I was feeling shit and I had no idea. I'm still learning what emotions are, like what my emotions are. And still to this day.
And how to process them and like how to let them flow through you without holding you in a space that you really don't need to be in.
I only just realized that not being on time is a source of anxiety and frustration for me. Like literally like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I was like, why the fuck do I get places and I'm still in a bad mood? Like it's because I was fucking late, bitch. And then talking to a trauma-based therapist would also be something that I would suggest. Is really important to differentiate your therapist and a trauma-based therapist. And I say that to say, like, I did have a very amazing therapist a few years ago. Loved her. We were on a first name basis. She was just so great. The homework she would give me, like the way we would talk, I really enjoyed her. And then I was SA'd and I stopped going to therapy like super abruptly. She would call and text me from her personal number to check on me and make sure I was okay. And I just would air her text messages. Like I wouldn't say anything. And then a few months after, when I kind of felt like I was in a place where I could speak to a professional about what happened to me, I remember our first session back in the studio, back in her office, and me telling her what happened and why I had been gone for so long. And she was like, wow, Lex, that's really not something I thought you were going to say to me. And it's like, that didn't make me feel any better. It's like,
your friends could have said that to you.
It's like, I didn't need anyone to feel sorry for me. I needed someone to tell me what to do with all this like self-loathing and like feeling like like I put myself in that situation, especially after also having a friend who I thought was very solid, only for her to be like, well, if I were you, I wouldn't have even been in that situation. And then following that up with saying, I just can't be the type of friend you need right now. Like that was a lot for me to process all at one time, which did not make me feel any better. Thankfully at that point I knew that I had a habit of using sex as self-injury. So that's how I dropped like 125 pounds in like 3 or 4 months, because I was in the gym 2 hours before work, in the gym 2 hours after work, salad, bagel, salad. That was it. Go to sleep, do the same thing the next day. Like I was not outside. I was not outside, bitch. On the weekend, I wasn't doing anything. I think Courtney and Andrea, they were probably like the only people that I was actively letting into my space and spending time with, because that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, trauma-based therapy is very important because they specialize in things like that and like deep-rooted PTSD that you don't realize that you have, like in different ways that it can show up. So trauma-based therapy, very good. And then my last suggestion would be to take it one day at a time. It's going to be very hard to kick the habit of seeking that validation in that way, because it's going like not seeking it or getting it is going to bring up a lot of other emotions and thoughts about yourself. So just take it one day at a time, lean on your community. Most cities, if you go to your city's like resource page, most cities have free therapy. Like they have income-based therapists that you can also get medicated. You can have a counselor. Like there are things like that. In every city that I've lived in, there is something like that. So, you know, just even calling one of the offices, the health department, calling them to ask them for resources. That is a great way to find something if you don't have money or insurance to find a therapist.
A lot of these queer collective groups have like mental health resources available for you. So if you don't want to spend your time at the DHS or talking to the fucking DHS, who can be very rude and short and confusing, then your community might be also a good resource to lean on, like as far as finding those programs. Yeah. And like there's a lot of therapists in the city that offer free therapy specifically for Black queer individuals. Yeah. So there's a lot of avenues you can take to get the help that you need. You just have to be open and patient when trying to find it, because the system is fucked. So it doesn't want you to get that resource, so that the resource isn't available for the next person that wants to use it. So yeah, it's just about like having the patience to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I do say all of that to say, like, it is like, don't feel shame for doing this, especially because like it is a coping mechanism. So we don't want you to feel shameful for it. We just want you to be aware that this is possibly what it could be, and that it's not something that's going to make you feel better. It is very much a instant gratification, because while you're there, it's like, okay, this is fine. But even for me, while I was in these situations, it's not like I was like, oh, this is great. I wasn't like, oh, this is great, I'm having a great time. I'm usually self-loathing in my head as the experience is happening. Yeah. So, you know, it just is something to be aware of. And I think that the more we ask ourselves these questions and we try to steer away from using sex as a validation of ourself and our worth, you start having better sex. Because once I realized what that was, oh, bitch, and then I was popping pussy because not only because I could, but because I could and have fun at the same time. Yeah. So, absolutely. I definitely went through a couple of years of doing it as injury to myself, and then to make up for that, I was doing it just because I could and I could have fun. Absolutely. To kind of make up for that. And so that is also how I've gotten so solid in my, well, sex is going to be good for me, and it has to be. And if it's not, then we're not going to do it. So there's that. I did have a few questions for the girls. Oh. I know that, like, I asked questions as we were going, but what are some advice that you'd give other people, especially like young Black women going through this?
I'm just going to speak from my personal situation, which, thank God, never included any sexual trauma that was not self-induced per se. But I would say it's important to realize, like you were saying, why you're having sex with this person. When you're 18 and you're like going to school in a new place and you just kind of want to like solidify your adultness by like taking control over your body, I would just figure out like what the root is behind that. Like, are you having sex with these people to make yourself look cool for your friends? Are you having sex with these people because you don't have any friends and you want to fill up your Friday because your other friends are going out to a party that you weren't invited to, or just didn't want to hang out with you that day? Like, figure out why you're spending time with these people that have no interest in you. If this is your truth, that would be my advice.
Yeah. I would say the same thing, as ask yourself questions. And I would say ask yourself a lot of questions when it comes to it, especially when you know you have no actual desire to have sex, and you're not attracted to the people that you're having sex with. That is probably the main thing. Like, I think asking yourself questions also pauses what you're doing, which you can kind of talk yourself out of actually doing it. And stay consistent with yourself as well. Like, find your principles and your values and what you value about yourself, and make sure that the people you are like involving yourself with, friends or otherwise, but especially sexually, that they can also value you as more than just a means to an orgasm, because that can also really make the way you feel about yourself worse. So ask yourself questions would be my advice. How do you think that you came back from or came away from doing that?
Definitely like finding the worth in myself. I would say, ironically, there was a summer that I came home from school and my friend was working out with a trainer and my mom was working out with a trainer. And so I just started kind of working out with them, and like I was just in my body a lot that summer, like, and just losing weight, which I'm not saying you need to do in order to feel good about yourself. But in this case, where I was at the time, I was I was 5'2" and like 230 pounds. Like I felt better about myself and I felt better physically. And then when I went back to school, I met my ex, and he like really showed me what love, like that you could be loved and appreciated for who you were at the time. You could be loved and appreciated for who you're going to be. And that sex could be like about me. Like before that, I really never had an orgasm with another person other than like, I think one time when I was making out with like a girl and we got a little heavy petty, like, but before that I had never really experienced an orgasm. I had never experienced somebody that like wanted to give me an orgasm that was focused on my pleasure. And I think that mixed with the fact that I felt better about myself and what I was worth, like brought me out of that feeling of using my body to get people to like me. I was like, this isn't the only reason. Like people like me because they want to be around me. I also met my group of friends outside of the university that like introduced me to my queerness and introduced me to like the fact that like I'm just an interesting person to be around. Yeah. So I think I surrounded myself with the right people. I wasn't surrounded with the right people when I was self-harming in that way, but I had friends that like really just enjoyed being around me and enjoyed me sexually. And I was like, oh, this shit is for the birds. Fuck white men. Yeah.
I would say, I like me coming back from it, I think it mostly, I don't know. I think one day just something clicked in my head. And I think it was like while I was out with someone, and it was also me thinking about like people that actually call and check on me and want to hang out with me. And it's like, they're not asking for all of this. They're just asking for me to be myself and to bring myself. And like, I started seeking more people that made me feel that way. And I think that is also why I like, once I start feeling sexualized by someone, that is why like I'm immediately like, I feel unsafe and it gives me a lot of anxiety because like, if that's all you're seeing me as, then
you won't hear the other parts where I'm telling you.
Exactly. And like, I know that I can't rely on you if it doesn't come to like having an orgasm or anything like that. Like it just, I definitely think something clicked and I was just like,
this ain't it.
This is not it. Yeah. And it really, really helps like finding people that just really loved you for who you were and not for like sex that you could give them. Yeah. And then my last question before we wrap it up would be, do you find yourself like in this space like now where you are now?
No. Now I feel like I really just have the sex I want to have and I seek the sex that I want to have. Like I'm not seeking anybody to make me feel better about myself. Like it's really all about me. Like, there's just no I don't think I'm looking for validation. I think when I broke up with my ex recently, like last 2 or 3 months ago, at first, I think I was doing it because I was like, well, let me see if I can ride this bike again. Like I ain't ridden a bike in a minute. I need to remind myself that I can do it. So I was crazy, like the first month or so, like just talking to a lot of random people, not having sex with them necessarily, but just in that mindset of like, okay, I'm trying to fuck. But now, again, like, I'm like, okay, I can do it. Now, let's be more intentional. Like, I don't really need to be going out with this person just because, or I don't really need to be inviting this person to my house because I have the free time. Like, am I horny? Do I want this for me? Do I miss their company? Like, yeah, absolutely. I'm in a totally different space now. Thank God. Yeah. Because, like, you just, like, talking really brought me back to, like, a place I have not been to in years. And it's like it's really sad. I don't think I remembered how like sad and lonely and like not okay I was. Yeah. And like the fact that my friends didn't see that actually pissed me off. I don't really talk to them anymore. Really, any of them. I talk to one of them sometimes. Like we just really send each other TikToks. Yeah. But like, I can't stand them now. Like I don't ever want to talk to them again. Cause it's like, how do you not notice that I was like literally crumbling?
Yeah. I don't find myself in this situation at all. I haven't in a really long time. And I think it was because of that clicking moment where I'm like, oh, what? And then I also realized that like I'm what you're coming here for. Yeah. Like even if you're coming here for my body or for my face or whatever, you're still coming to me. I have all the control here. Yeah. And because I realized that the control is all mine, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to do this. And
yeah, you have the confidence to make better decisions.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, there's that. But I don't find myself there anymore. I don't even find myself like seeking validation about like my looks or my body. Like, because I know, and because I've been at a point where I'm like, oh, bitch, like, you, like, looking at myself and like just being so obsessed with myself and how I look. Like, I know that mentally, I know that there is nothing wrong with the way I look or the way I am. But, you know, obviously, like, we all have our own little like hang-ups about ourselves. So I don't feel like I need validation that I am sexy and I'm powerful and I can be sexual and I'm fabulous in bed. Like, I don't need the validation for that because I know those things already.
Right.
So yeah, I haven't found myself in that place in a really long time. But as soon as I'm like talking to someone and they're talking about all the sex that they have, that's the first place my mind goes. And like, I know that I need to like maybe reel that in because I don't want to project how I used to feel doing those things on someone who is really just enjoying their lives, you know. But yeah, definitely have not been in that space in a very long time. And I'm very thankful for that.
Seriously, like, it's like a prison, you know?
Yeah. It's like a vicious cycle because you want to stop and you know that you shouldn't. Like, you know that you shouldn't, but you're doing it anyway. When Craigslist was a thing when I was living in Beaumont. Oh, niggas were meeting me at parks. Like, oh, wow. I'd be like, pull up over here. They pull up over there.
Wow, Craigslist, that is really intense. Wow.
Very unsafe.
Like, I actually had this one experience, now that I look back on it, like, that was a good person. And I really just didn't believe, like, I didn't understand this process. But anyway, I met this white guy on Tinder when I was 19 and he was probably like 26 and like not cute, like 5'3", wore like hiker boots everywhere, like a gingery kind of guy.
Yeah.
And like, he invited me out, like, we rented some movies, got some food, went back to his place. And like, the reason I matched with him is because he was really interested in BDSM, like specifically like rope tying. And I was like, oh, at the time I was watching a lot of BDSM porn.
Kink.com.
Like, lots of it. And there's a lot of white people on those sites. Like, I never really saw black on black kink. I just saw like maybe a white man and a black girl, or like white man and a white woman.
Very interracial kind of
things. And I think that like really shaped the way that I viewed what kink was. So when I got to his place and he was just like trying to talk to me and ask me questions, and like, he wouldn't have sex with me, like, he wouldn't really touch me the first night. We just kind of hung out. And like, I found that really weird. And like, I was really offended that he didn't want to have sex with me. I like thought that was a me thing. Then I hung out with him again and he like did some light tying and like some light spanking, but he was very just like calm and gentle and slow. And like, he let me spend, like, he cuddled me and like really made me feel like I had never been a person. Like, I'd never been felt by all these other white men that I had sex with in the past. But because he wouldn't have sex with me, I literally like got up in the morning and I was like, ugh, like, I can't believe this. He doesn't really like me. Like, I was offended. Like, the way he dropped me off, I had an attitude. Like, I slammed the door. But like, now looking back at it,
he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Like, he was being so genuine to me and like trying to figure out why I wanted to do these things and what I liked, and like not taking everything so fast and like doing what I asked him to do, which is tie me up. But like, no, he refused to have sex with me, and he gave me aftercare, like things I didn't know the names for because I was just watching these 5-minute clips of porn. And like, looking back, I'm like, wow, I really, he got on my nerves so much. And like, he would like occasionally in the future, like he would Snapchat me like years later, like a year later, 2 years later, and just like check in and be like, hey, how are you doing? Are you still like a kinky little girl? And I would be like, oh, fuck that man. But now I'm like, damn, he really was just like a real nigga.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even see that because I was so focused on like using sex as a validation, and he wouldn't have sex with me, so he wasn't validating me. So I got angry. Yeah. I think that's crazy. But like, as an adult, now we can like, now that we've found that validation in ourselves, even on the days where I am like, Courtney, you look like this. Like, I'm not happy with my body. I'm not happy with my mindset. I'm not happy with my financial, like where I'm standing financially. It's easier for me to realize that has nothing to do with like, that's everything to do with how I see myself. And I'm the only solution to this problem. Like, I can't find the answers in anybody else. I can't find the answers in self-harm. Like, I know that's hard to do, especially when you're young and your emotions are so strong.
Yeah.
But like really it is internal work. And so now I can move through those feelings of damn bitch, you a broke bitch, or damn bitch, you are a lazy bitch, and be like, okay, I'm lazy today. Okay, I ain't got no money today.
Not lazy in general.
But how do I move forward tomorrow? I can't call myself a broke bitch today and then expect me to not be a broke bitch tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And same with sex. Like I can't hate myself today and expect somebody else to love me tomorrow, or myself to love me tomorrow, to expect my life to get better tomorrow. Like there's just a lot of internal work that I realize I have done over the last 10 years. And I'm like, wow.
And it's like consistent. You got to be like consistent.
Oh
with
man.
It's all about, and like, I think what has helped me is like realizing thoughts that I'm having and then like following it up with a question. And I thank therapy for that. Like, I'm thinking like this, and I'm like, but who said that?
Yeah.
Who said that to you?
It's a lie, babe.
Who said that to you? You know? And yeah, I also think just having people around me that are so genuine and loving and caring is just really, really a solidifying thing for me. And like, what validates me now is when people tell me like how reliable they think I am and how much of a good friend they think I am. And like, you know, you like the other day, Red was telling me that like, she was asking herself, like, what safe spaces do I really have to, like, go and be myself with no mask on or anything? And she's like, that's really being with you, like, whenever we're hanging out together. And that made me feel so good, because that means that all the things that I do without even thinking about them, that means that, like, it's making a positive difference to someone. And that is what validates me, because I, at the end of the day, want to be a good person. Yeah. And me being a good person makes me sexier. So it like goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Get you friends that are really going to tell you how they feel about you.
Yeah.
Because absolutely. I've really been feeling like a broke bitch lately. Like even with my new cute little fun job, like I'm just like, where's the out of feeling like I'm just working for paycheck to paycheck still? Yeah. And like, it always makes me feel better because I have friends that are like, girl, you're out here doing it. Like, they'll just randomly text me, like, bitch, you are so inspiring right now. You are doing your shit. You are on it. And I'm like, girl, I don't feel like that. But the fact that you see it means you're right. I am doing something right. And then that changes your own inner thoughts. And you can move on. You be like, okay, I'm broke right now, but bitch, I'm not going to be broke tomorrow. Yeah. Or there's going to be a week where I'm up, ho.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm having, like, a bad thought, and then I'll think of something that, like, someone has said to me, and I'm like, oh, bitch, you're dumb. Like, yeah. Like, why are you being dumb right now? Like, for real. You're actually pissing me off. And then I get pissed off at myself because I'm like, you're feeling like this, and then all of these things, and then also just recognizing how amazing my friends are. And then, like, it's like, okay, all of these amazing people would not be finding
friends with the loser.
Why would they be friends with a loser as awful ass bitch? Why would they do that? And my friends are like, oh, we're going to go do this. Let's go do this together. They're like, I want to do things with you. Yeah. I'm like, that shit makes me feel good.
Please.
Yeah. Well, that's our little episode for today.
I loved it.
Yeah. I hope you learned something new, and I hope that you have put yourself in a space where you can ask yourself more questions and question your actions more before you do them. Yeah. And just really get yourself in a very safe space with yourself.
And it takes time. We're talking about 10 years. We talked about 10 years in one episode. This didn't just happen like overnight. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we still have work to do.
We do still have 10 years to go. At 10 more. Absolutely. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. If you are a loyal listener, thank you. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok,
at all your pleasures _
Yes. All of the social media platforms. Check out thepleasuresallyours.com for updates on like episodes, learn a little bit about us, and
and subscribe to our YouTube. Yeah. That's all I got now.
Perfect.
Whether you listen to this on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, bitch, we love you.
Bye.